The Edge of Knowing by Jason Derek Watson. Chapter 2. Happy Birthday Eve. There was a taste of magic on the air that morning, not the kind found in fairy tales or old films, but the soft, humming variety that pulses through society on the eve of something grand. Holidays have that effect, even if they occasionally come wrapped in the mild absurdities of commercial expectation. But Thomas, fortunate in his way, bore none of those burdens. He didn't shop for gifts. He had no lists to consult, no calendar notifications reminding him to prove his affection through consumption. Outside, the city shimmered with anticipation, not in gaudy decorations or celebratory noise, but in subtle shifts. Overlays pulsing with marginally brighter hues, temperature filters tuned for outdoor comfort, and ambient music drifting from unseen speakers with melodies engineered to stimulate light euphoria. The elevator descended soundlessly from his apartment, lowering him through the clean vertical strata of his building and into the transport level below. Its walls, mirrored but matte, reflected his image in soft focus, the illusion of perfection without vanity. Inset into the walls, small icons blinked to life as he passed. Transit updates, wellness affirmations, motivational slogans tailored to his psychological profile. Not obtrusive, never loud, just present enough to register. The train station was woven directly into the structure, as it was for all upper-tier residences near the Institute. The colloquially dubbed think tank, which crowned the coastal city like a jeweled sentinel of intellect and aspiration. The train arrived on cue, as it always did. Its polished hull glinted beneath the morning sun, and the doors sighed open like the parting of curtains before a show. Thomas stepped aboard, found his usual seat, third row from the front, window aligned, and began his commute, the same as every morning. The view was prescribed. Only one side of the train boasted windows, and those windows faced the Institute. Always. That was by design. What purpose would there be in looking outward, away from the heart of New Hope, when all meaning flowed inward? And what a view it was! The Institute was colossal, less a campus than a monument to human advancement. Its towers rose not in straight lines, but in dynamic spirals and crystalline arcs, as though grown rather than built. Transparent panels shifted like water along the outer shell, absorbing sunlight, redirecting heat, generating power. Some speculated the towers changed height by design, that the entire structure responded organically to shifts in atmospheric pressure, seismic activity, even psychological metrics of its inhabitants. In the radiant clarity of the morning, its surfaces shimmered with iridescent elegance, an effect surely engineered by some laboratory buried deep within its core. It was not merely a place of learning, it was an aspiration manifest. Around it, the city radiated in precise concentric circles, each tier defined by purpose and privilege. The transportation system mirrored this geometry. If you worked along a particular ring, you lived along that same ring. Lateral and outward movement was easy. Inward movement, that was a different matter entirely. One could always travel outward, but inward travel required either clearance or need. Need, of course, was defined by the city's systems, not by the individual. This arrangement, while rigid, was not resented. It was understood, admired even. New Hope was designed with such clarity of intent that even its restrictions felt like guidance. A how-to manual for life. Thomas, like most in his bracket, rarely considered how the system worked. He had long ago internalized its logic. He was smart, exceptionally so, but uninterested in climbing further than he had. The glittering accolades of researchers and innovators, their gleeful updates about breakthroughs and tenure, had once intrigued him. But those days had passed. He had done his century of education, earned his credentials, and settled into a life that was clean, efficient, and, most importantly, his. He did not dream of more, not because he lacked ambition, but because he had found something rare: satisfaction. As the train glided along the first visible wall, the last of the great rings yet to be engulfed by the city's monstrous vertical expansion, Thomas let his gaze drift through the clear glass. The skyline ahead was spectacular. At the core, buildings spiraled like twin serpents coiled around one another, their forms climbing endlessly skyward, each new level constructed upon the bones of the last. The inner rings had long since hidden their walls behind layer after layer of architectural ambition. Behind him, nothing, or rather no windows, but advertisements and propaganda. The trains offered no glimpse outward, only inward. It wasn't just symbolism, it was ideology. All aspirations flowed to the center. Upward was not only a direction, it was a destiny. Thomas had earned his place here, Ring 2, close enough to the university to feel its pull, but not so close as to be consumed by its gravity. He was still young by New Hope standards. Perhaps one day he would want more. But for now he watched, listened to ambient news feeds and classical reinterpretations pulsing through his earpiece, and rode forward without haste. The train was unusually full, the air taut with the electric buzz of anticipation. Birthday Eve, the final day of the year, the threshold before the most sacred of holidays. Every screen, every projection, every subtle augmented flare in the environment was attuned to the festivities. Advertisements extolled the latest advances in body repair, neuroenhancement, immersive leisure simulations, and of course, New Hope itself. But the most prominent messages were about tomorrow, birthday, the great graduation, the moment when freshly minted adults, engineered, educated, and evaluated, would be released from the institute and handed over to their mentors. At the same time, a new generation would begin germination, humanity in its eternal cycle of optimization. But tonight is birthday eve, and that means celebration. Thomas's face remained passive as the train glided toward the station. His mind was already there, at the gathering, at the rooftop terraces, at the taste of laughter and intoxication and temporary abandon. He had no illusions that the night would change him. He didn't want to change. But for an evening at least, he would live more vividly than usual. And in New Hope, more was always the point. The Edge of Knowing by Jason Derek Watson. Chapter 2. Happy Birthday Eve.